He has spoken on the topics faith, family, and freedom in Cuba, Belgium, Brazil, Congo, UK, and all over the USA to crowds from 14 to 40,000. International leadership speaker, trainer, and coach. Author of Learn to Raw Leadership, Attitude Hack, Live a More Excellent Life, 5 Battle Strategies of a Victorious Warrior. 2021 President's Lifetime Achievement Award recipient. Founding partner of the John Maxwell team. Toastmaster International Speech Competition semi-finalist. Founder of Tell It Like It Is TV, ThatGuyRocks.com and ThatGuySpeaks.com. Creator of Story Power TV, Transforming Grace TV, and Leading Leaders Podcast. Producer of 4 TV programs and podcasts for Liftable TV and World Trumpet Television, as well as multiple social media channels. Please help me welcome J Loren Norris.
The grass is blue, the grass is blue. No, it's green, you fool, it's not blue. No, it's blue, and I'll prove it to you. Let's go see the king. Yeah, that's an axiom, and I'm going to share it with you today on Leading Leaders Podcast because it has much more relevance to your leadership life than you possibly could imagine. Well, maybe you could imagine. In fact, maybe you're already living in the wake of blue grass. Today on Leading Leaders.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast. And if you haven't seen it, it's floating around on LinkedIn right now, an axiom about a donkey and a tiger who get into an argument about the color of the grass. And the donkey says, no, look, the grass is blue. It's very blue. And the tiger says, no, the grass is green. And he said, you know what, let's take it up with the arbiter. Let's go see the lion. We'll go see the king about this. So together they go to the king. The donkey runs on ahead, and he says to the lion, look, the grass is blue. And the lion says, if it's true for you, then I guess the grass is blue. And the donkey says, well, the tiger's arguing with me about this. He says the grass is green, and I say it's blue, and you now agree that it's blue, and so what are we going to do about this? And so the lion says, I'm going to punish the tiger for 3 days of silence because he argued about the color of the grass. The donkey went away with his victory, and the tiger appealed to the lion and said, why would you punish me? You know as well as I do the grass is green. The lion says, listen, I'm not punishing you because the grass is green or blue. I'm punishing you because you took the time to argue with a fool and wasted your time, talent, treasure, and attention on an argument that you know has no point. Not only that, but you went to the extent of bringing it to me and wasting my time, my talent, my treasure, and my attention over an argument with a fool that there is no winning because they're never going to shut up about being wrong. They're just going to keep the argument going because for them, the victory isn't right or wrong, true or untrue, accurate or inaccurate. It's can I win the argument by bullying you into agreeing with me. Now, it seems ironic that would be an axiom floating around on a professional page like LinkedIn in this day and age. However, I think it was yesterday that a ruling came down from the NCAA Women's International League with regard to transgender participation in women's sports. They said transgenders are more than welcome to participate in women's sports if they have transitioned from male to female, so long as they have done so before the age of 13. Why? Well, because that's about the time that puberty blockers would have made a difference into whether or not this individual, not collection of people, this individual actually has different bone mass, different muscle density, different abilities based on their physique and their physical characteristics of having been born male. Regardless of what they want to be. If they were born male, by the time they're 17, 18, 19 years old, they have a completely different physique than would a female of the same age. And so if they want to participate, if they've made that transition before the age of 13 and done them hormone blockers and all that kind of stuff, then they have different bodies that would be more conducive to competing on an equal ground. The grass is blue, my friend. It's blue. It's blue because I said it's blue, not because for the only reason. What is a woman? Do you understand how this argument? And I'm not picking on this argument specifically, but it's been in the news, and so it's easy fodder, for lack of a better term. There are hundreds of arguments similar to this, arguments that are pointless at best. And nobody wins even if you're right or wrong in this, but that's not the leadership lesson. The leadership lesson isn't whether or not you win the argument. It isn't whether or not you're right or wrong on the facts or the merits of the case. As we've seen for the last 5 years, you can just make stuff up, and as long as you scream it loud enough, long enough, it becomes true. Well, that's not just the last 5 years, my friend. That's the last 100 years. That philosophy has been around for a long time, that if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough, everybody begins to believe it. But it's not just that they begin to believe it. What you normally find is that donkey that now has convinced the king that the grass is blue and I can shut other people up, I get 3 days of silence for those who disagree with me, now becomes a policymaker. And the rules of the game begin to change because this individual, this collection of people, this group of people, whether it's an ideological group or a business group or a client group, once they get their way one time, they don't stop. As a leader, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? If your team has decided amongst themselves that the grass is blue, and then they've grown quite a significant coalition of people within your organization who are equally convinced the grass is blue, or at least will testify to it. Remember that old phrase, you make it up and you lie about it and I'll swear to it. That old idea still exists and it still runs in your organization. There are people on your team today who will lie to cover for another one when they know that they're lying, because there's a little greasy pocket on the other side of that. Or there's a little something in it for them. How do you deal with that as a leader? Well, there's a couple of ways. The first thing you got to do is realize nonsense when you realize nonsense. You got to be able to spot the nonsense. If the grass is blue is the argument they want to have, then you need to be asking yourself, is this even worth engaging in? Is it worth the time to dig into this conversation? And will I ever convince them the grass is actually green? Or do I actually believe that they believe that the grass is blue, and therefore the argument isn't about the grass, it's about controlling the argument? See, one of those positions, as a leader, you're going to have to decide where you fall on this. Is it worth arguing over the color of the grass? Or is this about something altogether different? Is this about exerting control? Is this about force? Is this about manipulating the process or becoming the policymaker of nonsense? When you decide that, when you spot the nonsense and then decide the motive behind the nonsense, that's when you as a leader need to take action. Now, the action you take may be as extreme as saying, listen, I don't have any place on my team for bluegrass donkeys, so you're going to have to move along. We have other people who can get the job done, who can do it as well as you and not argue about the color of the grass. Unless we're in the business of grass, the color of the grass is irrelevant to me. So I need you to find another place to be employed as a bluegrass donkey. Carry on. I don't care where that is. No harm, no foul, but we don't have time here to be arguing about the color of the grass. That's one method. The other is to actually engage with them and try to get to the bottom of why they believe the grass is blue. Let me tell you, though, that is a fool's errand. Because what people believe will drive the way they behave. What people believe, well, that's a deep-seated issue. They've been holding on to it for a long time. And it's not easy to convince somebody of what they believe. So once you get into that nonsensical argument and you determine, do they truly believe this? Or are they just using this as a crowbar to start another conversation or to open another door? Once you determine that, then you can determine, is it time for the bluegrass donkey to move on down the road into another vocation or at least another employment situation, another team, another place to be? Or is this an argument that is going to have some legs and we're going to be at this argument for a minute? Time to batten down the hatches and find the credibility to prove the truth. Those are decisions you're going to have to make as a leader, but here's the one you cannot make. You cannot decide as the leader to completely ignore the bluegrass donkey. You can refuse to engage in the silliness and in the nonsense, but you cannot ignore, because that nonsense will take root and it will change your organization from the inside out. If you think I'm kidding, grab the book by Vivek Ramaswamy, And you're going to see some really interesting stuff. It's called Woke Inc., but it's about a bluegrass donkey, kind of an argument on a grand scale in his multi-billion-dollar organization. It's a little disheartening, but it should give you some courage. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.